Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am thrilled to be sharing a project featuring the brand new Concord 9th September 2022 release. It's holiday and it is fabulous. I will be sharing projects throughout the month featuring this fabulous holiday release, and I'm starting out with this card project today, which features the festive phrases, sentiments stamp set along with the coordinating die set. I'll also be using the Boughs and Holly die set as well as the Snowfall card front die. Now, the great thing about Concord 9th products is that each collection is really designed to work with the other collections in the release. So they have individual bundles, but they all really coordinate together, and you're going to see a lot of these bundles used together in my card projects this month. So I'm starting out by creating a background, and I have some Concord 9th Sea Glass, Clover, and Evergreen cardstock, and I'm cutting these into 1 5/8 inch strips. Now I know that is a weird measurement. But for me, there is something about the 3/8 measurement and the 5/8 measurement that just, it makes it better. I don't know. And I know that's silly. And I am going to create a striped background. So I have a piece of scrap paper and a sheet of Altenew adhesive. This is a double-sided adhesive sheet that I've cut down to the same size as my scrap piece of paper here. And I am just using the corner of my MISTI to get those lined up. Now, once I have that adhesive onto my scrap piece of paper, I'm gonna pull off the adhesive backer and I'm gonna start laying down my strips of cardstock onto the adhesive. And I'm doing this at an angle, but you could do it however you want. And when I lay the first strip down, I'm just gonna take the second strip and butt it right up against the edge of that first strip and then work my way down, kind of in this ombre fashion. I love these three greens together. I used them together a lot when I was creating with this release. And you're gonna see this color pattern and color palette repeated over and over again in the projects that I created. Now, once I have my first set of strips laid down onto this adhesive, I took it over to my trimmer and just trimmed off the excess. And then I'm just using the excess pieces there to fill in the last little areas. I did have to cut another full strip of that sea glass cardstock because the area that I had to cover was a little bit larger than the leftovers that I had. So I'm just trimming that all down, and then I'm taking a bone folder and pressing all these cardstock strips into the adhesive. I trimmed that down with a rectangle die just to give it a nice clean edge. And then I used a rectangle die that was one size smaller to die cut some Concord 9th white cardstock. And now I'm grabbing my Snowfall card front die. Now I love this because it doesn't have an outer cutting edge on this card front die. So you can die cut this right directly onto your card base, or you can use it on an element like I'm doing here. This is going to add a really cool, just stitched kind of snowflake pattern. You can see that there. And like I said, because there's no outer cutting edge, you can die cut this onto a card base, or you can even kind of line it up and die cut it multiple times to make it work on a larger 5x7 card. So now I have a couple of these Evergreen sprig dies. These are from the Boughs and Holly die set. And I'm die cutting them from some sea glass cardstock as well as some Evergreen cardstock. And then I'm also going to die cut them from some Concord 9th white glitter cardstock. This is going to give it kind of that frosty, magical feel. I'm going to mix these three sprigs together in a little grouping that I'm creating. And I think that little bit of glitter and that little bit of shine just is really beautiful. And the cool greens that I have going on in this background, really that icy white kind of complements it so well. So now that I have most of my die cutting done, I'm going to start working on my stamping. And I've prepped the surface of this black cardstock with my powder tool, and then I've inked up this 'Tis the Season sentiment from the Festive Phrases stamp set in VersaMark ink and stamped it onto that black cardstock. And then I added some super fine detail white embossing powder and I heat set that. Now, after I'm done with my embossing, I like to just take my dry microfiber cloth and buff off any of the extra powder tulle. And now I have this kind of label style die that's from the Boughs and Holly die set as well. And I've die cut that little embossed sentiment using that die. Now I've grabbed this large kind of stylized Mary, and this is the stamp that we're really going to make the focal point of our card. And we're going to repeat it in a few different colors and stack these up to create a really cool graphic look. So I'm starting out by inking up the stamp in Poppy ink from Concord 9th, and I'm using my MISTI stamping tool to stamp this sentiment onto some Concord 9th white cardstock. And once I have that first color stamped, I'm going to go ahead and clean my stamp, move up my cardstock, and stamp it this time in Honeysuckle ink, which is a beautiful kind of rich pink ink. And then I'm going to finish off this color trio with the Ballet slipper. So this kind of mimics those greens in that I have 3 different colors of green, 3 different colors of reds or pinks here. And I really think that by not stamping these all in the same color, but changing up the color, it adds to the impact that you create and that really graphic look. So I've grabbed the coordinating Mary die. This is from the Festive Phrases coordinating die set. And this die set has some dies that are standalone dies, and it also has some dies that coordinate with the stamp set. So this Mary, and there's a Joyful and a Happy Holidays that coordinate with the stamp set. Now, once I've die cut all of my stamped images, I also die cut this Mary word die from some plain white cardstock, and I'm adding layers behind each of these colors. So I have 2 for each color. So I'm going to make 3 groups of stacks of 2 of the white cardstock die cuts. And then I'm going to add the colored stamped Mary on the top of that. So I have 2 behind each of these colors. This is just going to give that stamped and die cut piece a little bit of weight. And it's also going to allow me to kind of bump up that red Mary. I'm going to add it kind of staggered down the card, repeating and stacking these sentiments. So it's just going to give me a little bit more depth and dimension. And I think it really just elevates the card. No pun intended. So once I have all of those adhered, I'm going to take these greenery sprigs and I'm going to adhere them together. Now they're designed to stack on top of each other so that you can have a multicolored sprig, or you can use it on its own. And I like to kind of take them and stack them on top of each other, but just offset them just a little bit. Now for me, branches, leaves, those types of die cuts are perfect accents on a card, especially on a holiday card. So I love this Boughs and Holly die set because you can just die cut a few of these and tuck them behind a sentiment and really add something kind of a little kicker to your card. They also look fabulous die cut in vellum as well. Now I took this little sub sentiment and I tucked it underneath the first layer of that Mary, that red Mary die cut sentiment there, just kind of wove it into the layers there. And now I'm going to start adhering all of these stacked up die cuts to my white panel. I'm using a little bit of liquid glue. This is the Barely Arts glue, and I'm starting with the honeysuckle sentiment at the top. And you can see I have cheated it off of that card front over to the left. But as I move down, I am going to slowly shift these colors over to the right. So you can see the pink hangs off the right side more, and the red, it's kind of there in the middle. Now I'm grabbing these little pine sprigs and I'm just kind of tucking them behind that red Mary there in the middle, kind of making that the main focal point. But you can see how stacking these sentiments down the front of this card, I've really created an impact. I have color, I have a really graphic look, and I have a lot of dimension. Now I did want to mention that red Mary is kind of stacked on top of the honeysuckle and the ballet slipper. So it's sitting up a little bit higher, and that allows me to tuck those sprigs behind that sentiment there. I'm going to take this white card panel and I'm going to adhere it onto that stripe piece that I created with a little tape runner adhesive. And then I'm going to take this entire card front and adhere it to an A2 size card base with some foam adhesive so it just bumps it up a little bit more. And that finishes off my card for today. I absolutely love the graphic look of these staggered sentiments here, these stacked up sentiments on this card front. And repeating and stacking up these sentiments is a great way to really make an impact on your card. Now, as always, I will have links to the featured products used in this project in the description at YouTube, so be sure to check there if you're looking for anything in particular. Or you can head on over to my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Over there, I'll have more still shots, more information, and a complete list of supplies. And I'll also be sharing some photos of all of the projects that I created with this brand new September 2022 release from Concord 9th. There is so much holiday and there is so much fabulous, and I can't wait to share all of these projects with you throughout the month. I'm going to give you a little sneak peek at those projects now, but be sure to join me over on my blog. And if you want to check out the entire new Concord 9th September 2022 release, be sure to check the YouTube description because I'll have it linked there. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this card project and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications here on my YouTube channel so you don't miss any of my card making and paper crafting video tutorials. Thanks for stopping by, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.